Coronation Street teases that Tyrone is about to unknowingly derail Kevin and ABI's much-anticipated trip, triggering a chain of emotional revelations and confrontations that threaten to fracture relationships beyond repair. The week had begun like any other on the cobbled streets of Weatherfield. Kevin was unusually upbeat, and ABI, ever perceptive, had noticed. It wasn't just the rare streak of sunshine or Jack's recent football win, it was Kevin himself. He was smiling more, engaging more. There was a lightness in him she hadn't seen for months. ABI, seizing the moment, decided to book a getaway. Just the two of them, away from the garage, the dramas of their extended family, and the perpetual carousel of Weatherfield drama. Kevin was hesitant at first, but then agreed a little too eagerly. ABI took that as a positive sign. She had no idea he was hiding something far heavier than reluctance. Back at the garage, Tyrone noticed Kevin's distracted demeanor. Over a shared coffee and a half-eaten bacon butty, Tyrone finally confronted him. "Mate, you've been off lately," Tyrone said, eyes narrowing as he watched Kevin fidget with his mug. "Is everything all right?" Kevin hesitated. Tyrone was more than a colleague, he was family, practically a brother. Eventually, Kevin opened up, admitting that he'd been hiding the fact that his chemotherapy had ended 2 weeks ago. He was afraid. Afraid that revealing it would bring about a sense of finality, or worse, that ABI would resent him for not telling her sooner. Tyrone's reaction was immediate and intense. "Kev, you can't keep that from her. She's your wife, she loves you." She'd be relieved, not angry. Kevin shook his head, haunted. "You didn't see her when I first told her. The way she looked at me. I can't put her through that again. I just wanted us to have something good again, even if I had to lie to hold on to it a bit longer." Tyrone sighed deeply. "Mate, that's not how you fix things. It's how you break them more." Still, Kevin didn't budge. He promised he would tell ABI, just not before the trip. He couldn't bear to ruin something that, for once, felt like a return to normalcy. As preparations for the trip advanced, Tyrone couldn't shake his worry. Every time he saw ABI smiling at Kevin, or talking excitedly about the holiday, it made his stomach churn. He hated being complicit by silence. Then, just a day before Kevin and ABI were due to leave, Debbie stopped by the garage. She and Kevin stepped aside to talk privately. She was concerned about him, especially since she'd helped cover some of the financial strain the treatment had caused. Kevin assured her that things were okay now, that the chemo was over and he was slowly recovering. It was a brief conversation, just long enough to plant the seed of disaster. ABI had come to surprise Kevin with takeaway lunch. She walked in just as Debbie said, "I'm just glad your treatment's over. You should have told ABI earlier." ABI froze. The bag of food slipped slightly in her grip. She didn't confront him then, not immediately. She waited until they arrived at the cottage. The location was beautiful, quiet, nestled beside a lake, the kind of place where problems should melt away. But ABI's mind was already reeling. That night, while Kevin was unpacking their bags, ABI sat on the edge of the bed. Her voice was calm, but her words were sharp. "So when were you going to tell me the truth? That your chemo ended 2 weeks ago?" Kevin froze mid-motion. The silence that followed was heavier than any shouting could have been. "ABI, I didn't. I was going to." "Were you? Or were you planning to keep lying while we played happy families?" Her voice cracked, but she didn't cry. "Not yet." Kevin stumbled through explanations, apologies, justifications. He said he'd wanted to protect her, to preserve the good moments, to delay the fear and responsibility. "You don't get to decide what I can handle, Kevin," ABI snapped. "You lied. And for what? So you could control the narrative. So you wouldn't have to see me upset. That's not love. That's cowardice. Kevin's voice broke then. I was scared, ABI. Scared you'd leave. That you'd had enough of me, of my drama, my health, my paranoia. ABI stood. I didn't leave when I found out about the cancer. I didn't leave when Jack had problems, or when the garage nearly went bust. You don't trust me to stay. That's the real issue. Tears welled in her eyes. And about your cousin. I didn't flirt with him. I didn't do anything wrong. It's all been in your head, and now you're punishing me for a betrayal that never happened. She walked out, slamming the cottage door behind her. Back in Weatherfield, Tyrone was pacing the living room, checking his phone every few minutes. A part of him had hoped Kevin would do the right thing. That ABI and Kevin would come back stronger. But he knew Kevin too well. Knew the weight of pride and fear could often cloud his better judgment. The following morning, ABI returned alone. Her eyes were red, but her posture was upright. Tyrone spotted her crossing the street, and rushed over. ABI. What happened? Where's Kev? She didn't answer immediately. When she finally spoke, her voice was steady. He's still there. I needed space. Tyrone looked down, guilt etched on his face. I tried, ABI. I told him to tell you. I really did. ABI managed a small nod. I know. It's not your fault. But I don't know if I can forgive him. Not this time. Across town, Kevin sat alone on a park bench near the lake. The crisp air did nothing to dull the ache in his chest. He had gambled with the truth, and now he was paying the price, not just in tears, but in the cold void ABI had left behind. ABI returned to the garage the following day, the clang of metal and the scent of oil oddly grounding. She needed familiarity, something concrete to keep her from spiraling. Tyrone was already there, pretending to focus on a gearbox, though he kept stealing glances at her, clearly wanting to say something, but unsure how. You don't have to say anything, she muttered, pulling on her overalls. I know what you're thinking. I'm just worried about you, ABI, Tyrone said gently. You look like you haven't slept. I haven't, she replied. Been thinking about what's real and what's not. Whether Kevin even knows the difference anymore. Tyrone hesitated, then said, he's broken, ABI. And I'm not saying that to excuse him. But it's like, he was so afraid of losing you, he lost himself instead. ABI turned to him. That's not my fault. I've stood by him every time. I thought we were partners, but he shut me out completely. He still loves you, Tyrone offered. Love without trust isn't enough, she whispered. Back at the cottage, Kevin stayed for another day, walking through the nearby woods and along the lakeside, replaying ABI's words over and over. He tried to call her once, but she didn't answer. Debbie texted asking if he was okay, but he couldn't bring himself to reply. The silence was unbearable, but deserved. On the third day, Kevin returned to Weatherfield. The garage was closed when he arrived. He stood outside, hesitant to go in. Tyrone emerged, surprised but not unwelcoming. You're back. Kevin nodded. Is she here? She went home a while ago. You should give her space, Kev. Kevin swallowed hard. I need to fix this. I need her to understand. Then be honest. Properly honest, Tyrone said. And not just with her, with yourself. Kevin left without arguing. That night, he showed up at their house. ABI didn't let him in, but she stepped outside. You lied to me, Kevin. Not just about the chemo, but about trusting me, about what we are. I was scared, he said. That I'd look weak. That you'd feel trapped. That you'd leave. I stayed through everything. Even when you pushed me away. You think I didn't notice how you started treating me different after I talked to your cousin? I was nothing but polite. You saw something that wasn't there, and instead of asking, you let it fester. Kevin looked broken. I know. I'm sorry. I was wrong. About all of it. ABI stared at him for a long moment. I don't know if I can do this anymore. Maybe we both need to stop pretending we're fine. As Kevin watched her walk away again, something shifted in him. A hard, painful acceptance. He couldn't patch this up with empty apologies. He had to change. Days passed. Tyrone kept out of it as best he could, though he worried constantly. He saw the toll it was taking on ABI, how quiet she'd become, how she worked longer hours, just to avoid going home. Debbie finally confronted her brother. You're not going to win her back with guilt trips and silence, Kev. You need to show her you've changed. What if it's too late, he asked. Then you keep trying until you know for sure. Kevin began small. He stopped hovering around the garage. Instead, he volunteered at Jack's school for a career talk. He picked up extra shifts at the community center. And when he saw ABI, he didn't pressure her. He just said hello and kept moving. It was ABI who noticed the shift. One evening, she passed by Roy's and spotted Kevin sitting with Jack, helping him with a science project. He looked tired, but calm. He wasn't looking around for her. He was simply present. The wall inside her cracked, just slightly. Later that week, Tyrone found her sitting alone in the garage, fiddling with a wrench, but not fixing anything. He's trying, Tyrone said, not needing context. I see that, ABI replied. But I'm scared too, Ty. If I let him back in, and he breaks my trust again, I won't survive it. Then don't rush. But don't shut him out completely either. Not if there's still something worth saving. Another week passed before ABI agreed to meet Kevin for coffee. It was awkward, full of long silences and hesitant small talk. But it was something. They met again the next week. This time at the park. Jack came along, and the sight of the boy laughing between them reminded ABI of all they'd built together. I'm not ready to move back in, she told Kevin. But maybe we can work on being friends again. Kevin nodded. Whatever you need. I'll be here. Tyrone watched all this unfold with cautious hope. He'd seen love in Weatherfield rise and fall like the tides. But this felt different. It wasn't fast or dramatic. It was slow, deliberate. Two people trying to heal. Months later, on a crisp autumn day, ABI walked into the garage after closing time. Kevin was sweeping the floor, humming to himself. She stood in the doorway, watching for a moment. Do you still want to go on that trip? She asked. Kevin straightened, surprised. What trip? The one I planned. The one you nearly ruined. He smiled softly. Yeah. I'd like that. She nodded. Then pack your bag. We leave Friday. And this time, there were no secrets. The wounds hadn't vanished. But they were healing. Weatherfield, ever a place of turmoil and redemption, had seen them fall. Now it would witness their slow rise again. And Tyrone, watching from the shadows of the garage, allowed himself the rare luxury of a hopeful smile. Because sometimes, even in a place as complicated as Coronation Street, love gets a second chance.